by. But also, I think that in Congress, there's so many daily attacks that are trying to whittle away on rights of so many people. And in fact, Senator Kewen in 2013 introduced a Religious Freedom Rights Act here in Nevada. And as Congresswoman fighting those efforts that whittle away one by one at rights will be incredibly important to me. And I think it's having a zone defense, because they come in so many different forms, whether it's the North Carolina bathroom legislation, and I totally support President Obama in his executive action to make sure that schools open up bathrooms to all people of the gender they are. And so I just think taking that leadership role and that culture of acceptance and accepting and supporting human rights is important, and also to make sure we're vigilant at defending the whittling away at rights, because marriage equality obviously was a huge win in our country, but again, there's so many things that come in the backside that dwindle our access to those rights.
Susie, thank you. You must have been taking notes at the last debate, because you've definitely lifted some of my key arguments from the last debate, much like talking about the American Dream story. I think that specifically, this is where I'm really excited to talk about the reality that you face when you actually have a job at a company and not just working for the federal government. And you have to understand that, unlike this sort of pretty rose-colored idea of what discrimination is, I have to tell you, as someone who's actually been on the other side of writing a paycheck, discrimination does not happen out in the open. It happens in dark little corners in offices. We need to have more courage in addressing that and putting stronger penalties in place for companies who step over the line. You know what's interesting, and you wouldn't know this if you haven't actually had employees, or you actually haven't been on the other side of a complaint with, for example, the Labor Relations Board, or any government agency which is responsible for protecting the rights of citizens in the workplace, you would know that it is an absolute joke. I know this because I've been working with employees who have open complaints that have been there for over 9 months. So when you say what you would do, what about what you have done? What about what you know, or what you've done in that role? I think your records speak for themselves, and quite frankly, that's just the reality of the situation. So thanks.
First of all, let me say that it's very unfortunate that a Democrat is sitting up here attacking other Democrats when our sole focus. I'm not here to attack a fellow Democrat. I think they're all great people. Crescent Hardy has failed us time after time, and I think he's the person that we have to have our eye on. With that being said, I'm glad you brought that up. This is a bill, the one that Ms. Lee is mentioning, that Senator Dick Sergebrum, a bill that Senator David Parks champions in our community, co-sponsored. It was a bill that we were working on with the Republicans, and the ACLU supported this bill, to include protections, civil right protections for married couples, same-sex couples. This bill died. And when this same bill came back in 2015, without those protections that we included, that we Democrats put on there, we fought tooth and nail to kill that bill. But let me just say this, one of the proudest moments of my legislative career, and maybe the proudest vote that I took in my 10 years in the state legislature, was speaking out in support of marriage equality. This was an intense debate on the Senate floor. I stood up, I spoke out in support of it, and that was a proud vote that I took. And just like I stood up for our LGBT community in the state Senate, in the state assembly, I will continue to do it in Congress, and I will make sure that if you give me the opportunity, we hold Crescent Hardy accountable, and his days are counted in Congress. Thank you so much, and I hope for your support.